broke teenager sat alone in a workshop in Scotland and accidentally invented the future. What does it feel like to hold the future in your hands and have absolutely no idea? Jemes Watt never set out to be the father of the Industrial Revolution. He was a quiet instrument maker, a man who repaired things for a living. He didn't dream of changing the world, he just wanted to fix a broken pump. But sometimes, the smallest repairs reshape everything. This is the story of what happens when stubbornness meets genius and refuses to quit. January 19th, 1736. A baby boy is born in Greenock, Scotland, a small coastal town on the River Clyde, where the cold wind never really stops blowing. His name is Jemes Watt, and from the very beginning, life is hard on him. As a child, James is constantly ill, headaches that last for days, a body too weak to keep up with other children. While other boys in Greenock are running along the docks and getting into trouble, young James is home, often in bed, with only books and his own mind for company. But here's the thing about Jemes Watt. His mind never gets sick. His mother, Agnes, is an educated woman. His father, James Sr., is a successful carpenter and ship merchant. They fill their home with books, tools, and ideas, and little James absorbs all of it, like a sponge dropped into an ocean of curiosity. Neighbors later recalled seeing young James spend hours alone, playing with geometric shapes, taking apart tools, rebuilding mechanisms. His aunt once scolded him at dinner. "James, you have been staring at that kettle for 20 minutes. Say something." James looked up and replied, "I am trying to understand why the steam lifts the lid." He was 6 years old. That moment, that kettle, that lid, that rising steam is one of history's most famous stories. Was it real? Historians debate it, but what nobody debates is this. Jemes Watt had a mind that refused to stop asking why. By the time James reaches his late teens, his formal education is cut short by a harsh combination of illness and financial pressure. His family can't afford to send him to university. His mother dies when he is just 17. His father's business begins to fail. So James does what many young men of that era did. He packs a bag and heads for the big city. London, 1755. James is 18, broke and determined. He wants to become a mathematical instrument maker, someone who crafts precision tools like compasses, scales, telescopes, and quadrants. These were the high-tech items of the 1700s. Every scientist, every ship captain, every educated gentleman wanted them. James finds a master craftsman willing to take him on as an apprentice. The problem? He's supposed to train for 7 years. James learns everything the master knows in less than 1 year. His skill is frightening, his precision almost supernatural. But London's guilds, the powerful trade unions of the day, refused to grant him a license because he didn't complete the full apprenticeship. He's too good, too fast, and they don't trust it. Rejected by the city he came to conquer, James does something that will define the rest of his life. He refuses to accept the verdict. He packs up again and heads back to Scotland, this time to Glasgow. And in Glasgow, everything changes. The University of Glasgow gives Jemes Watt something rare for a man without a degree, a room to work. They set him up as the university's official instrument maker, a small workshop, a salary, and, most importantly, access to some of the greatest scientific minds in Britain. James thrives. Professors seek him out not just to repair instruments, but to talk about physics, about heat, about the strange new world that science was beginning to reveal. Among his closest friends at the university is a brilliant professor named Joseph Black. Black is doing groundbreaking work on heat and temperature, work that will quietly plant a seed in Jemes Watt's mind. Then, in the winter of 1763, A professor hands James a small model of a Newcomen steam engine. It's broken. Fix it. James stares at the machine. It's a Newcomen engine, the most advanced steam-powered device of the era, invented by Thomas Newcomen in 1712. Mine operators used them to pump water out of flooded tunnels. They were revolutionary, but also spectacularly inefficient. Here's the problem. A Newcomen engine works by heating a cylinder full of steam, then cooling it with cold water to create a vacuum that pulls a piston down. Then you heat it again, then cool it again, over and over. The cylinder is alternately heated and cooled. Heated, cooled. To Jemes Watt, this is almost offensive. You're using most of your energy just reheating a cylinder that you just cooled down. That's insane. You're fighting yourself. He fixes the model, but he can't stop thinking about it. He starts walking. Jemes Watt is famous among his colleagues for his long, solitary walks through Glasgow Green, the city park near the university. He walks and thinks and walks. And then, on a Sunday morning in May 1765, during one of those walks, it hits him. What if the steam didn't have to be cooled in the main cylinder at all? What if you added a separate chamber, a condenser, where the steam would go to cool down? The main cylinder would stay permanently hot. The condenser would stay permanently cool. You'd never waste energy reheating a cylinder you just froze. It sounds simple, and in hindsight, it is simple. But no one, not in 50 years of steam engine development, had ever thought of it. Jemes Watt later wrote, "I had not walked further than the golf house when the whole thing was arranged in my mind." He ran home. He built a rough model. He tested it. It worked. The efficiency of the steam engine had just been transformed. The separate condenser design used roughly 3 to 4 times less coal to produce the same amount of power as a Newcomen engine. Jemes Watt didn't just fix a broken machine. He reinvented it from the ground up. But here's where the story gets complicated, because having a great idea and actually changing the world are two completely different problems. Jemes Watt spends the next several years trying to turn his invention into a real product, and it nearly destroys him. His first business partner, John Roebuck, believes in him. He funds James's experiments. Together they apply for a patent in 1769, one of the most important patents in history. But Roebuck's other businesses collapse. He goes bankrupt. He can't fund any more development. Jemes Watt, now in his mid-30s, is drowning in debt. He has a wife, children, and bills he cannot pay. His dreams of the steam engine are slipping away. To survive, he takes work as a surveyor, measuring land for canals and roads across Scotland. He's good at it. He hates it. For years, Jemes Watt lives a double life, surveyor by day, frustrated inventor by night. He writes letters to friends dripping with despair. Of all things in life, there is nothing more foolish than inventing. And then, a lifeline arrives from Birmingham. His name is Matthew Boulton. Matthew Boulton is everything Jemes Watt is not. He is bold. He is charming. He is a businessman of extraordinary vision. He runs Soho Manufactory in Birmingham, one of the most advanced factories in Britain. He is obsessed with steam power, and when he hears about Watt's engine, he sends one of the most famous letters in industrial history. "I was excited by 2 motives to offer you my assistance, which were love of you and love of a money-getting ingenious project. I shall be very glad to lend you what assistance I can." Boulton buys out Roebuck's stake. He becomes Watt's new partner. Together, Boulton and Watt becomes the most powerful engineering partnership in the world. Boulton handles the business. Watt handles the engineering. They are, together, unstoppable. They successfully lobby Parliament to extend Watt's steam engine patent until 1800. giving them an extraordinary 25-year monopoly on the most important machine of the age. And now, with money and a factory, Jemes Watt gets to do what he does best: improve everything. The separate condenser was just the beginning. Over the next 2 decades, Jemes Watt transforms the steam engine with invention after invention, each one more clever than the last. First came the sun and planet gear in 1781. Early steam engines could only create a back-and-forth motion, useful for pumping water, but limited. Watt invents a gear system that converts that pumping motion into rotational motion, meaning a steam engine can now turn a wheel. This one invention opens steam power to textile mills, paper mills, flour mills, iron forges, and the entire manufacturing world. In 1782, he introduces the double-acting engine. Previous engines only pushed on one stroke. Watt makes the steam push on both strokes, up and down, doubling power without increasing fuel. Then, in 1784, he designs the parallel motion, a beautiful mechanical linkage that guides the piston perfectly straight during its stroke. Watt was personally so proud of this invention that he called it one of the most ingenious, simple pieces of mechanism I have ever contrived. In 1788, he invents the centrifugal governor, perhaps Watt's most elegant design, a spinning flyball mechanism that automatically regulates the engine's speed. The faster the engine spins, the wider the balls swing out, throttling the steam back. It's one of the first examples of automatic control, a concept that would one day evolve into robotics and computing. 2 years later, he creates the pressure gauge, a device to measure steam pressure safely in real time, preventing dangerous explosions. And perhaps the most unexpected invention of all, the copying press, a device that used moisture and pressure to instantly duplicate handwritten documents. It made Jemes Watt, the engineer, into an accidental pioneer of office technology. Each of these inventions, alone, would have made a man famous. Jemes Watt invented all of them. But who was Jemes Watt beyond the patents and the machinery? He was quiet, almost painfully shy in large groups. He preferred small conversations to grand speeches. He never gave a public lecture. He almost never attended the fancy dinners and society events that his fame eventually demanded. He married twice. His first wife, Margaret Miller, died tragically in 1773 during childbirth. Jemes was devastated. He had loved her deeply. His letters to her are warm, tender, and even funny. Her death hit him like a physical blow. His second wife, Anne McGregor, was sharp and practical. She steadied him. She managed their household finances and social life, freeing Jemes to retreat to his workshop. That workshop, located in his attic in Birmingham, was his sanctuary. He called it his garret. He spent decades there. After he retired in 1800, he continued inventing in that room until almost the day he died. He was also, despite his reputation as a purely technical mind, deeply literary. He read voraciously, poetry, history, philosophy. He spoke several languages. He had a dry, self-deprecating humor that his close friends adored. He was a member of the Lunar Society, a remarkable group of thinkers including Erasmus Darwin, Joseph Priestley, and Josiah Wedgwood. They met monthly, on nights with a full moon so they could travel home safely. Jemes Watt, the quiet instrument maker from Greenock, sat at the table with the greatest minds of his age and held his own. Jemes Watt retired in 1800 when his patent finally expired. He was 64 years old. He spent the next 19 years in his attic workshop, tinkering, inventing, and quietly watching the world he had helped create spin faster and faster. He received honorary degrees from universities that had once been closed to him. He was elected a Fellow of the Royal Society. Kings, scientists, and statesmen sought audiences with him. He died on August 25, 1819, at the age of 83. By then, Bolton and Watt had built over 500 steam engines across Britain, engines that were pumping water from mines, driving textile mills, powering iron foundries, and quietly laying the groundwork for the railways and steamships that would come next. The Industrial Revolution, the single greatest economic transformation in human history, was well underway, and at its beating heart was the engine of Jemes Watt. Today, his legacy surrounds us in ways we barely notice. The unit of power, the watt, is named after him. Every light bulb, every electric motor, every power station in the world is measured in watts or kilowatts or megawatts. His face appeared on the British 50-pound note alongside Matthew Bolton for years. His statue stands in Westminster Abbey, Glasgow and Greenock. But perhaps the most fitting tribute is this. Right now, as you listen to this, every electrical device in your home, every machine in every factory, every engine in every vehicle, is descended in spirit from the ideas of a sick, lonely boy in Scotland who stared at a steam engine and asked, "Why does this work so poorly?" Because Jemes Watt didn't just invent a better engine. He invented the habit of asking, "What if it worked better?" And that question, that restless, relentless question, is still being asked today in labs, garages, and workshops all over the world. Jemes Watt started with a broken machine and a single question, and ended up powering an entire civilization. The next time you flip a light switch, charge your phone, or feel an engine roar to life, remember the quiet man in the attic who refused to accept that things had to stay broken. If you love this story, subscribe for more histories of the people who dared to ask why, and change the world by answering it.